Hello YouTube, it's BirdoPrey5 and I'm back with, this is going to be a first reaction more than a full review of episode 12, Star Trek Discovery, through the through the Valley of Shadows. Something that's supposed to sound like through though I walk through the shadow of the Valley of Death. You know what? I don't care. I don't care. I could look it up right now. It's 2 seconds away. Through the Valley of the Shadow. I think that's what it is. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I don't know. The episode certainly doesn't warrant a full-length review. I watched it. I cried a little. I threw up a bit in my mouth, and then I died. I died a little. 3.5 or so minutes in, I mean, it starts out. Michael Burnham's on a hologram phone call with her mom. And her mom's saying, oh, how sorry she is that she lost her mother again. And she's like, how did you know this happened? Well, duh, Spock. Yes, Spock told her, of course. I mean, I suppose she could have had agents on board. I mean, nothing is off the table at this point. But, yeah, Spock told her. So then Spock interrupts the call. Spock comes to the door. In this episode, a lot of people start interrupting other things going on when they come to the door for some reason. Spock comes to the door and says, sorry for the interruption. The captain needs us. So for the first time, Spock is doing a personal visit rather than the computer just saying, Michael Burnham, report to the bridge. Or Captain Pike even, using the intercom. So Captain Pike called Spock and said, Spock, go get Michael in person and bring her to the bridge. Whatever. 3 minutes, they're in the bridge, and Pike is talking about this fourth signal opening up. Now, how does he know it's, and he says fourth of 7. So there were 7 original signals, we know that. But they all disappeared. So are you to tell me that they knew where all 7 signals were? And if they knew where all 7 signals were, why are they waiting for the signals to reappear before they go to those places? Because we're told later in this episode, weeks have passed since the last couple episodes. So weeks have passed. And I don't know what they've been doing, diddle-dallying around the galaxy, I guess. Why not visit the 7 places the red spots appeared? You're going to wait till they appear again? Because Pike says 4th of 7. So either they knew this was one of the 7 before it appeared, or he somehow knows that there are only going to be 7 that appear. I know in the beginning there were 7, but, you know, reasons. Anyway, Pike starts talking, and he's mid-sentence. Michael Burnham cuts him off. Like, you're an idiot. She basically says, you're an idiot. Stop talking about the spots like they mean something, you stupid religious idiot, you. Okay, I'm paraphrasing. But she does cut him off mid-sentence. She cuts off the captain in mid-sentence. And you know what? Half the people watching didn't even notice it. Okay? Anti-Trekker, I watched part of his review, live review. Didn't even stop him. He didn't even notice it. You know why? Because this is getting so common that people have just gotten used to Michael Burnham cutting off Pike and cutting off any person really who you know, because she's the #1 pinnacle peak of everything. Everyone has to respect her, and everything she says is the most important thing anybody is talking about. So yeah, it's common for Michael Burnham just cut people off, because that's what she does. That's who she needs to be. And it's, it's not Captain Pike's place to shut her up. No, if he stops her, he'll die. He'll die. Because that's what happens when you cut Michael Burnham off. We know it. So, yeah, without any hesitation, okay, Michael Burnham starts leading the conversation about what to do. And Pike is like, okay. Okay, Pike is captain in title only. In title only. This is the Michael Burnham show. And I will get to this in title only at the end of the episode, because that is when Michael Burnham literally joins the ranks of the great captains of Starfleet. So this red spot appears over Boarth. This is the Klingon monastery. This is where Vok and Layla, the Klingon woman, and Vok, who is now Ash, sent their son to live up and grow up as a monk, where he'd be safe from all the other Klingons that would want to kill him and whatnot. It's also the monastery that Worf went to in the Star Trek Next Generation episode, season 6. Oh, I think it was the end of the episode. Yes, Rightful Heir. A season 6 episode where Worf goes to this monastery to meditate, and Kahless the Unforgettable appears to Worf, and it's Kahless in the flesh. And those monks, they're the same monks. It's the same monastery. So we've been to this monastery before, even though it's in the future, but it looks nothing like the monastery we see now. Fine. But L'Rell comes aboard the Enterprise because Ash says he can contact L'Rell to arrange passage. So then we get the long-awaited shot of the Klingon D7 that's carrying L'Rell. I mean, and people have been going nuts over this scene that we're finally going to see a real Klingon ship, the real Klingon D7, and we see it. L'Rell's ship is a D7. We see it for about 3 seconds in probably the most unflattering view of a D7 anyone has ever conceived. And that's it. That is all we ever see of the D7 in this episode. Will we see it again? I have no idea. They don't show it again in the preview. There's only a few episodes left. So the D7 scene, which was from way back from the first trailer of this season, we were seeing this D7. Seems to have come and gone, and really had very little screen time and little meaning. So L'Rell is telling Pike. Pike is like, "What's special about this planet?" And L'Rell is like, "Well, this is the most sacred place in all Klingon history. The monks have been giving their lives for generations to protect a rare mineral that is found nowhere else." And what is the name of the rare mineral? Guarded for generations of Klingons. Generations of Klingons have given their life to protect this spot. The rare mineral is time crystals. Yes, that's the name of the mineral, time crystals. It's not timosite or even like, it's like calling dilithium warp crystals. What are those crystals that you use to power the warp? And warp crystals, wow, that's just basic science. Time crystals. Time crystals grow apparently all over Borith and nowhere else in the galaxy. And Klingons have been protecting them for generations. Those Klingons didn't go to Boreth to await the return of Kalas, which is what we were told in TNG, because when before Kalas died, he pointed at a star in the sky and said, "Look for my return there." And that star was where they made this outpost, because that's where Kalas said he would return from. No, apparently they made the outpost because it had time crystals. It doesn't get any better from here, people. It doesn't get any better from here. So, Jet Reno's back. Yep, Jet Reno is back. We see her in a scene in the mess hall where her and Lizard Guy are playing a game about something, antonyms, something. What are they called? Auto-antonyms. Yeah, auto-antonyms. Auto-antonyms, for those who don't know, which would have included me prior to this episode, auto-antonyms are words that mean something and also the opposite of the something they mean. It's kind of like an oxymoron, except an oxymoron is usually two words, like jumbo shrimp, whereas an antonym is just a single word. And one of the examples they gave in the episode is oversight, because an oversight can both be a mistake, and an oversight can also be the person in charge, like an oversight. Somebody oversight committee. Whatever. But yes, there are words where things mean both what they really mean and the opposite of what they mean. And the newest auto-antonym, I believe, is literally. As in, this episode is literally garbage. Because we know literally, so many people have used literally wrong in the last 10 or 20 years that the dictionary has literally added a new definition of literally to mean both literally, that we've always means, that means, true. Also, it is a synonym now for figuratively, because people have literally used literally wrong so many times that it is now a common synonym of figuratively. Wow. And that's true. That is true stuff. So, Pike, L'Rell and Ash start fighting over who's going to go down to the monastery. Ash says he's going to go. L'Rell says you can't go. Klingons can't know you exist. Basically meaning if he exists, then she says, oh, the child's in danger. But really she means she's in danger because she lied to all the Klingons saying that she killed him and she killed the baby. So she's the one who would get in trouble. She doesn't bring that up, but like we're supposed to forget that it's really her thing. Okay, so they start fighting in Klingon, and Pike is like, "Shut up, I'll go. I'm the one who's got to go." And fine. So L'Rell says they're not going to give you a time crystal, like And Pike goes down, and it's cold apparently. I don't know. He's in like a warm jacket, and he has to like pull open a door to try to get into the monastery. I guess there's no guards. Of course, he walks in, and there is a Klingon, an albino Klingon, although I think he's in a cloak at this point. And he's like, my name is Captain Pike. And he's like, yes, Captain Pike. We know who you are. We know why you're here. And he takes off like his cloak. And you can see he's an albino Klingon wearing some type of metal thing around his head. Now, is this a crown? Is this something that gives him mental powers? I have no idea. I still don't know. And by the end of the episode, we have no idea really what it is. But long story short, that albino adult Klingon turns out to be the son of Vok and I keep saying Leela. No, not Leela. Liel. The son of Vok and Liel, who was only supposed to be maybe several months old at this point. But no, he is a full-blown adult Klingon. And Pike is like, but how? Oh, right. Pike's like, he says he was a son of none when he got to this place. And Pike is like, oh, I know somebody else who was a son of none. Because that's the same phrase that Liel used in front of Pike and Ash when they said that they dropped their baby off there. And the guy has since taken a name, Vintmont or something. I don't know. Did I write it down? I don't think I did. Doesn't matter. He took a name, and he's like, yes, no, I'm their son. And Pike's like, how is that possible? He's like, well, time flows differently here. And they walk down a hallway, and there are Klingons playing with things. One of them plants a seed, and instantly a tree grows from it. I almost thought I was watching episode 1 of the Orville. Like they had perfected the ray that makes the trees grow fast. And no, but this is just... Apparently these monks constantly play with time crystals. Even though the guy has said that they are there to protect the time crystals. And that the time crystals are such an advanced weapon, they do not allow them out. And they don't allow anyone to touch them. And it's why Klingons no longer use time crystals, because they are just too powerful. They're too powerful to use time crystals. So the entire time we're supposed to believe Klingons have been the timekeepers. And they are the ones protecting the entire universe from time travel? I don't... And yet, somehow, these crystals do manage to get out. Because we know Harry Mudd had one. We know an Orion had one that Michael's mother got from an Orion trader. So, yet, these time crystals get out. So, after being told he wouldn't be allowed a time crystal... After being told he wouldn't be allowed a time crystal, the Klingon, Pike says, I'm not leaving without one. And the Klingon, who apparently knows the future, says, well, there's one way, but be aware that everyone who enters leaves mad. No one has ever successfully gotten a time crystal without going mad. So, of course, Pike is going to be the first. And they walk through some room, and Pike gets to these time crystals. And these are not little crystals that fit into the suit of Harry Mudd or the armband of Harry Mudd, or even the big suit that Michael Burnham's mother made. I mean, those, if they had time crystals, they were small crystals. These time crystals are big. I mean, like, 1 liter Coke bottle size time crystals. There was nowhere on the Red Angel suit for these time crystal to fit. Also, apparently you don't need a Red Angel suit to travel through time. You just need to hold a time crystal. So, I don't know why. What was the point of all that time making a suit? All you need is the crystal. The crystal manipulates time just by touching it. No technology needed. Oh, and the Klingons called time crystals Borguts or something. It was their name in Klingon, and for some reason the closed captioning didn't want to translate it. I have no idea why. So Pike touches. He's looking at the time crystal. He's about to touch it, and Klingon, the son of Ash, says, "Beware. Once you if you touch the time crystal, you're gonna, you might grow mad. You might go mad." And he touches it, and we see the thing we've all been known we were going to see at some point. It is Pike in his accident with Starfleet trainees and the radiation and what turns him into the very ill, can't move, badly maimed person we see in the cage or the menagerie, excuse me. Yes, that his future, the wheelchair, the blinking light wheelchair Captain Pike from TOS. Of course, the makeup looked awful. I mean, far, far worse than he looked in the TOS episode. I mean, his skin was falling over each other. At one point, it looked like he didn't even have an eye. And he was in severe pain. He wasn't just sitting in the wheelchair, like, not moving. He was sitting in the wheelchair screaming in pain, in agony. So I'll assume that was really just agony that got him into the chair. It wasn't that necessarily what he was going to be in the whole time. Now, Pike, upon seeing this, collapses and falls backwards and is scared out of his mind. And the Klingon's like, beware. As long as you don't take the crystal, you still have an opportunity to change your future. But if you take this crystal, your future is locked in stone. Now, we should know one thing, that whenever Discovery tells us something is absolutely certain, we know now they mean exactly the opposite, okay? So I'm going to tell out on a limb, and yes, and he took the crystal because he's a Starfleet captain, and he stands for love. Literally, he says he stands for love, service, and some other things. And a Starfleet captain, you believe in service, sacrifice, compassion, and love. That's what he's telling himself. So he takes the crystal. So his fate has now been sealed forever, which in Discovery means it's exactly what's not going to happen now. So, yeah, he takes the crystal, and that's it. And he's okay, and he can go back to Discovery, and he brings a time crystal with him. So this whole thing about never being able to take a time crystal, bullshit. I mean, does everyone who go to get a time crystal have a very bad future? Because that doesn't seem to make any sense. I mean, most people, you would think if they see their future, they're old, they die. Maybe they die alone. It's some people die happy. Why is seeing your future driving everyone mad? Plus, the very fact, and here's the whole problem with this. He's seen his future. It is now, quote unquote, set in stone. So if we were to believe this, then what happens if Captain Pike goes back to the Enterprise, gives them the time crystal, and just puts a phaser at high stun and shoots himself in the head? Is he not going to die? Because not only did he see himself in the wheelchair, I mean, you could say, oh, maybe that's what puts him in the wheelchair. No, he saw that he was perfectly healthy, and he was on the bridge of a starship, and he was helping people. So he has walking in his career. It is clear what puts him into the wheelchair. It's not a self-inflicted phaser wound. It's not a death, a suicide attempt. It is only this disaster, which is happening behind me as I talk. It's this disaster that puts him in the wheelchair. And wheelchair is because it's not just a wheelchair, it's something else. So he knows he's okay. So there is tremendous freedom in knowing that, hey, he doesn't know whether this is 6 months away or 6 years away. I mean, it's hard to tell how old he was. I mean, he didn't look particularly old, but you don't know. But he knows now, if we're to believe, that nothing he's going to do is going to kill him. So he could theoretically take the Enterprise against, 500 Borg cubes, and he should know that he is never going to be assimilated, and somehow the Enterprise would destroy the cubes because his fate has already been locked in place, right? So that doesn't make any sense. It also doesn't make any sense that he couldn't just kill himself and avoid this fate. Okay? It doesn't make any sense. And you know what? It's never going to make any sense. Now, Jet Reno, I told you she's back. She mentioned weeks had gone by. Now, I'm going to be honest. Jet Reno, quickly becoming one of my favorite characters. Yeah, I said it. Why? Because she's almost never around. Where has she been? Nobody knows. She's been on vacation, perhaps? She locked herself in her quarters, had to read on some books. She had lots of leave coming, perhaps, because she was on active duty for months, stuck on the planet. I don't know. I mean, it seems like she could have come in use through all the problems they've been having the last few weeks. But now Jet Reno is in it. It seems like she's going to be in it for another episode at least, although I wouldn't be surprised if she just disappears again. Yeah. Jet's back. Okay, the other thing, and this is early on in the episode, Ash, Burnham goes to Ash's quarters because she saw him. This is before they even contacted L'Rell, that Ash wasn't being completely honest when he talked about Boreth, and Michael's like, I know, I saw you, something, tell me the full story. And Ash tells Michael about the son being taken to Borish. And I mean, this is dialogue out of a stupid mass-produced novel that monkeys write and just they sell. They put a frickin' stupid cover on it and people just buy it up. This is entry to creative writing level dialogue between them. And oh, I wish I would have known, I would help you carry your burden, blah 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 blah. And Ash's cell phone, not his badge. That he has like a cell phone apparently in his drawer, and it starts ringing, And he looks at it and he's like, oh no, a Section 31 ship was due to check in. It hasn't checked in. And then Michael decides that she's going to go after the Section 31 ship. And Ash knows he can't stop her. And sure, fine. So Michael's going to go. She talks to Saru. She thinks she's got to fight Saru to get... because Pike is down on the planet at this point. So Saru is acting captain. Again, a title that is in name only. It's an honorary title. He is not captain. Burnham is captain because Burnham makes all the decisions. So, of course, Saru easily grants her permission to go after the Section 31 ship. Now, so Ash gets a report every time a Section 31 ship misses a check-in. Now, how often does a ship have to check in? Once a day? Maybe once a week? No, Section 31 ships have to check in once an hour. Once an hour. Could you imagine if the Enterprise had to check in once an hour? Okay? That is an impractical amount of time to have to check in. I mean, things go on for long periods of time. Communications are down. There's a million things that could go wrong in any given hour. Even once a week, I would hesitate to say is legitimate. But maybe I could deal with once a week. Once an hour and a ship is late, and it turns out to only have been 10 minutes late. And yet it's still a big enough deal that Michael Burnham and Spock, Saru orders Spock to go with her, get on a shuttlecraft and head over to the Section 31 ship. They get there. They come out of warp, and right away, a body hits the window. The entire crew of the ship has been ejected into space. And Michael's like, but why would they do that? You idiot, why would they do that? Because Control is a freaking computer that's going to kill all the people, and it has absolutely no use for human hosts. That's why they did it. Why do you think they did it? Everybody knows why they did it. But the shuttle sensors pick up a life form, a life reading. So one of the people ejected into space is actually just barely alive. So, hey, they beam him into the shuttle bay, and hey, he's wearing an environmental suit, a space suit. They open the helmet, and Spock is like, okay, his vital signs are stabilizing. And Michael recognizes him as one of the guys from the Shenzhou. So she knows him by name. And again, I've forgotten the name because that's how little I put into the show. And the guy wakes up and he's like, Michael. And she's like, yeah. And she's like, well, how did you get from the Shenzhou to Section 31? It's long story short, blah, blah, blah. And Michael's like, well, we've got to find out what the Section 31 ship is up to. It makes no sense that they killed everybody and now are just sitting there. Well, they're obviously waiting for something, Michael. I mean, computers they can wait. They don't need to do something to be busy. But fine. Michael's like, we've got to go over to the ship to figure out what's going on. Of course you do, because why not? And of course they said, well, we need somebody familiar with Section 31, because Michael doesn't seem to be familiar enough with Section 31, even though she knows later that Section 31 has just over 30 ships. Because at one point later in the episode that Discovery has 30 ships coming at them, and they're all Section 31 ships, and Michael says that's almost their entire fleet. So apparently the fleet of Section 31, the size of Section 31's secret fleet, is well known even to Michael. But before that happens, They beam on to the ship, to the bridge, and what do? This is a ship. Oh, excuse me. Spock says we've got to beam over, and he's like, the bridge, I'm reading 97% oxygen. If you beamed into a space that was 97% oxygen, you would die. Okay? You cannot have too much oxygen. Besides, it would literally explode at the slightest little electrical charge, even static electricity. Other than that, you would die. Oxygen is too toxic. Okay? High levels of oxygen is toxic to humans. That's why when you go down in a scuba tank, you do not wear an oxygen tank. You wear an air tank, because you need to breathe an atmosphere that is mostly 70-something% nitrogen. Okay? The Earth's atmosphere, I believe, is 17 or 18% oxygen. That's it. So maybe he meant 97% of 18%, but that doesn't sound like something Spock would really say, does it? That doesn't seem like a mistake Spock would make. He could have said the atmosphere is at 97% of standard value or standard pressure. That would be more accurate. But to say 97% oxygen, just a whole nother, it's something that no one else seems to have picked up on, that he said it, because people have gotten so used to Star Trek Discovery writers not knowing crap about science. And it upsets me. So yeah. So on the ship, Spock has to go to the back to fix something. They come up with this cockamamie idea of trapping the control AI that's on the Section 31 ship into some type of subroutine. Like idiots, the routine has been shown to be smarter than you every single time. There's one thing you should do. Blow up the goddamn ship. You do not need the ship. You shouldn't even have beamed over. If you were going to beam over, just beam over to set off the self-destruct. Okay? And they beam over, and what's the first thing they do when they beam over? They take off their helmets. Or they click the button so their helmets retract. Why would you do that? The ship has already killed once. The ship is perfectly capable of evacuating you into space. Leave the helmets on. Yes, it makes for annoying talking, but you know what? At least you live if the ship decides to blow the frickin' atmosphere. Okay? Stupid decisions. And of course, after Spock goes to the other room to do what he does, it turns out that the guy who they found alive has actually been injected with nanites and is actually Control. Another Leland, so to speak. And Michael starts fighting him. She's getting her ass kicked. And Spock finally gets out of his room where he was locked in. He finds a way through, and he pulls the guy off of Michael Burnham. He tries to give him a Vulcan neck pinch. So at least we know Spock knows the neck pinch, although he did do it at the starbase as well. Of course, the neck pinch fails because the bad guy says, well, Vulcan neck pinch would be effective if I still had nerve endings. Because I guess now that he's nanite based, there's no nerve endings. And he just breaks Spock's hand. It sounded awful. And then Burnham takes the phaser out of the guy's own belt and starts shooting him like crazy. After like 15 shots, a hole opens in his belly, and then you see it start repairing itself almost immediately through the nanites. So she keeps shooting, and then the guy falls, and the nanites pour out of his body and form a nanite blob. And now the nanite blob is headed for Michael Burnham, and she's backing up till she can get to wall. She can't get any further. The nanite blob is coming for her. Oh my God, there's nothing to do. She picks up a second phaser. She's double barreling, shooting with both hands. Pow, 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 pow. Shooting this blob of nanites. Nothing is stopping them. It's making tentacles. Just as about the nanites. Also, Control also said that they need to assimilate Michael Burnham, that she's the absolute one thing that can stop them, because Michael Burnham is the most important person in the entire universe, just in case we didn't know. Absolutely, confirmation. Michael Burnham must be assimilated by Control, because she's the only thing they cannot predict. And just as the nanites are about to get her, they all fall to the floor. And Spock is the hero. And apparently he realized that once he realized the nanites had ferromagnetic material, that just means metal. Magnetic metal. Once it had magnetic metal in it, he realized he could just magnetize the floor. And as long as he was a strong enough magnet, all the nanites would be wouldn't be powerful enough to get up. So there must be a magnet on that floor stronger than a junkyard that, picks up old school buses and drops them into a compressor. So the magnets have the nanites stuck in place. Why would 23rd century nanites have ferrous material in them when even in 2019 and for decades, all the medical stuff we've been putting in our bodies is specifically non-magnetic? Okay, it is designed that way because you can't have an MRI if you have anything metal implanted in you. So you use, at least if you have any ferrous metals, magnetic metals implanted within you. So you can use non-magnetic metals if you need to use metals. And more importantly, you can just use synthetic non-metallic materials to begin with. So why would such an advanced computer system make the mistake of making itself magnetic? Magnets are so easy to fight against. Once it's magnetic, it would be... Okay. But they make it back to Discovery. And this is where it all goes downhill for me. This is where Michael Burnham is clearly joined the rank of the Starfleet captains ahead of her. Okay? Because Michael Burnham, 3 days into this destroying, not 3 days, 2 or 3 episodes into having to destroy the sphere data, she comes back to the Discovery and she tells Captain Pike the only way to make sure the Discovery... Somehow and this goes back to the very beginning of the episode, somehow the sphere data, even though last episode we saw it over 50%, I think it was almost 87% transferred to Leland at one point, apparently none of that ever happened. Yeah, none of it happened because for some reason Saru now realizes that the data can never leave Discovery. Okay, they couldn't. I don't know what they were sending to the Red Angel suit, and I don't know what Leland was copying, and it was going up and it was getting faster and faster. I don't know what data it was, but Saru has surmised that it is impossible. Again, there it is. Anytime it's impossible, you know it means possible. I guess it's an auto. It's an auto antonym on Star Trek. Impossible means the opposite of itself. That's the ticket. That's the secret to Star Trek Discovery. Impossible has become the new auto antonym. Impossible means possible. That makes so much sense now. It's impossible to not be Michael Burnham. Of course, it becomes Michael Burnham. It's impossible that those tapes were faked, that it wasn't Spock who killed those people, and it turned out they were faked. So yes, impossible, the new autonym from Star Trek Discovery. It is impossible that the Data can leave Discovery. So what do they do? And then this is when they realized all the Section 31 ships, or at least 30 of them, the majority of their fleet, are headed right towards Discovery. And Captain Pike says, we'll just keep using the jump drive until we figure out a way to use the time crystal to fight Control. Because they have the time crystal, they just don't know how to use it. And that's not a bad idea, right? Because the jump drive, they could jump to the Delta Quadrant. Okay? They could jump to the Delta Quadrant 70 years, even 150 years away. 150 years away at current Federation max warp tech. So jump to the Delta Quadrant. Spend 10 years trying to figure out how the time crystal works. Build your own time suit. And then jump back. Jump on back and do what you got to do. That is actually a great idea. Captain Pike has a great idea. But no, because Captain Pike is captain in title only. So we don't do Captain Pike's idea. Michael Burnham has the better idea, and this is where Michael Burnham joins the ranks of the great captains. The same call that every previous captain in Starfleet has had to make and has made when it was called upon. Captain Archer, Captain Kirk, Captain Picard, Captain Sisko, and Commander Sisko, and Captain Janeway. Every great Star Trek captain we have ever seen has made the call, we need to destroy the ship or the station. But if destroying the ship is the only way to save the day, we will do it. It is our risk we take. Every Starfleet officer knows that is a risk they take. It is what they signed up for. And if it means saving innocent lives, they will destroy their own ship. Captain Pike should have thought about this 2 episodes ago. Okay? It should have been the first thing. It should have been his decision to make. The fact that he did not make this decision, I don't know if it proves that he's not a worthy captain or what. But Michael Burnham finally, too late, decides it's time to destroy the Discovery, because that will be the only thing to prevent Control from getting the data of the sphere. Why does Michael Burnham have to be the one to make that call? God knows. God knows. It should have been Pike. It should have been Pike's call. So she makes that call. And then what does Pike do? Does Pike set the self-destruct? No. No. He's like, hail the Enterprise. He's going to offload everyone on Discovery to the Enterprise. You dumb F. Okay? That's obviously not going to work. All the ships are after you. Why are you putting the entire freaking universe in danger? Destroy your ship. No, he wants to offload everyone to the Enterprise. Now, He's also been shown and been told without a doubt that his life doesn't end on Discovery. He has destined to become a freaking wheelchair, bound, unfortunate victim of radiation poisoning in a very painful future. So maybe he feels if he lets everyone else off Discovery and then he destroys Discovery himself, he can escape that future. I don't know. Maybe he honestly thinks that, hey, I've been seeing my future and I don't die here. So if I fight all those Section 31 ships, I know at least I live as long as I'm the only one on board. I don't know. These are all stupid questions because of a stupid plot, because of stupid time crystals. But damn it, Michael Burnham has to be the one to make the call to destroy the ship. That is insulting to Captain Pike and all the other captains. And it's the main reason. I know some people thought this was a good episode. Captain Foley apparently gave this a 9 or a 9.5. Anti-Tracker, I didn't finish watching it, but he seemed on track to give it the highest score he's ever given yet. I only see this as more piles of crap upon crap upon crap. More, obviously they're lying to us. There's multiple lies. They're all going to come to fruition. The stupidest writing we've seen in a long time. I mean, honestly, in junior high school, I knew kids that could write better stuff than these professional writers are writing. Was it the worst episode of Discovery? No. Was it the best episode of Discovery? Hell no. Hell no. Was it a good episode of Discovery? No. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. I'm going to give this like a 2. A 2 out of 10. 1, because Jet Reno was in it. And I'm starting to like her character. I didn't even get into how she tries to bring Stamets and Dr. Culber back together. But you know what? I didn't mind that scene. I didn't mind it. It wasn't the worst. But that's it. And I don't think she's going to be in the show more. Probably would be better if she was. Yes, Jet Reno actually brings up the level of the show. That's how you know how bad it is. So 2 out of 10. Damn it, Discovery. Get better writers. What the hell is wrong with yourselves? You're an embarrassment. Time crystals are an embarrassment. Klingon timekeepers are an embarrassment. And Spock. Poor Spock. Qapla.